Hello there, and welcome. If you've been living with breathing problems that just don't seem to quit, that cough that lingers, a nose that's always stuffy, or that tightness in your chest, you know just how draining it can be. You try all the usual things, but nothing seems to give you lasting relief. Well, today, we're going to dig into a connection you may have never ever considered. It's a surprising link that might just hold the key to finally breathing easier.
Does this sound a little too familiar? It can feel like you're stuck with a cold that just never ever ends. You've got your inhalers, your nasal sprays, your allergy meds, but the symptoms, they always find a way to creep back in. It's this relentless cycle, and it's absolutely exhausting to feel like you're in a constant battle just to get a clear breath. I want you to know you're not imagining it, and you are definitely not alone in this fight.
All right, let's map out where we're headed. First, we'll talk about why it feels like a never-ending cold. Then, and this is the interesting part, we're going to uncover why the problem might not actually be your lungs at all. After that, we'll explore something called the gut-lung superhighway. Then we'll look at how we might be accidentally fueling the fire, and finally, we'll get to the good stuff, how to start cooling that inflammation from the inside out.
So let's start right there, with that core frustration. You go to the doctor, you follow the treatments, but your rhinitis or your asthma symptoms, they just don't seem to really truly get better. This is such a common story, and it happens because most treatments are just managing the symptoms where they show up, in your nose and lungs, instead of getting to the actual root cause, which, as we'll see, might be hiding somewhere else entirely.
It's so important to get this. If you feel like you're just spinning your wheels and not getting any clear answers, that's an experience shared by millions of people. Feeling like you're doing everything you're supposed to but still not seeing results, it can just wear you down. But what if the reason we're all stuck is that we've been looking for the solution in the completely wrong place?
Okay, this is where we really start to shift gears. While the symptoms, the coughing, the wheezing, all of that are definitely happening in your respiratory system, the real engine driving the problem might not be your lungs at all. We need to go looking for a hidden source of chronic, low-level inflammation that's basically putting your entire body on high alert.
And here it is, the hidden source we're talking about. It's often found in the last place most of us would think to look, your gut. I know, sounds a little strange, right? What on earth could your digestive system have to do with your ability to breathe? Well, it turns out, a whole lot. The science is becoming crystal clear about an incredibly powerful and direct connection here.
So when we say gut inflammation, what are we actually talking about? This isn't your everyday stomach ache. We're talking about a long-term, low-grade state of irritation deep inside your intestines. A good way to think about it is like a fire that's just constantly smoldering. This disruption causes your gut to send out a flood of emergency signals, these inflammatory messengers, that then travel all throughout your body. Now this slide is really helpful because it boils the problem down to two main things. First, you've got an imbalance in your gut flora. Your gut is basically a complex ecosystem with trillions of microbes. When the bad guys start to outnumber the good guys, things get thrown out of whack. And second, that imbalance can lead to something called leaky gut. Just imagine the lining of your intestine is like a tightly woven net, only letting the good stuff through. Well, with leaky gut, that net gets damaged and the holes get bigger. This lets things like undigested food and toxins leak into your bloodstream, which, as you can imagine, puts your immune system on red alert.
So, the big question is, how exactly does a problem in your gut create an issue all the way up in your lungs? Well, scientists have a name for it, the gut-lung axis. The best way to picture it is as a kind of biological superhighway, where the traffic or the signals coming from your gut have a direct and immediate impact on the conditions in your lungs.
This slide lays out that pathway perfectly. Let's just walk through it. It all starts down in the gut, which starts churning out these inflammatory signals, molecules with complicated names like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. Now, because of that leaky gut we just talked about, these signals escape into the bloodstream, and from there, they can travel anywhere. Where do they end up? They land on the very sensitive, delicate membranes in your nose and your lungs. And when they arrive, their message is simple: get inflamed. And that's exactly what happens, triggering and making rhinitis and asthma symptoms so much worse. And this quote really gets to the heart of it. An inflamed gut basically makes your whole immune system jumpy and oversensitive. It gets trigger happy. This means that stuff that shouldn't really be a big deal, a little bit of pollen in the air, some dust, suddenly causes this massive over-the-top reaction. Your body's overreacting because its baseline level of inflammation is already way too high, and it's all being fueled by those signals coming from the gut.
Okay, so now that we understand the what and the how, we need to talk about the why. What are we doing in our day-to-day lives that might actually be feeding this problem? let's take a look at some of the common habits that can fuel that fire of gut inflammation, which then affects our breathing.
This table just lays it out so clearly, side by side. On the one hand, you've got the gut-harming habits. Lots of processed and sugary foods, eating right before bed, chronic stress, not moving enough. Each one of these is like throwing another log on that inflammatory fire. And then on the other side, you see the direct countermoves. High-fiber foods, eating earlier, managing stress, and getting some light exercise. It really is a choice between fueling the problem or starting to heal it.
I just want to pause on this for a second, because it's so important. Think about your digestive system like a muscle. After a workout, your muscles need to rest, to repair, and get stronger. Your gut is no different. But when we're constantly eating, grazing all day, and then having snacks right before bed, we never ever give it a break. It's always working, and that continuous strain is a major driver of the chronic inflammation we're trying to fix.
All right, we have identified the problem and we've looked at the causes. Now for the most important part. What do we do about it? This final section is all about taking back control. It's about real, actionable steps you can take to cool that inflammation from the inside, heal your gut, and hopefully find a path to some real, lasting relief.
So here are some really practical first steps anyone can take. First, start feeding the good guys in your gut. That means more fiber from plants and fermented foods like yogurt or kimchi. Second, create a hard stop for eating in the evening. Just give your gut a solid 12 hours off overnight. Third, find a way to de-stress that works for you. Maybe it's a walk, maybe it's meditation, whatever it is. And finally, become a bit of a detective with food labels and try to cut back on processed foods with all those artificial additives.
Now, all of those things are absolutely crucial for long-term health. They are the foundation. But there is one specific strategy that is often pointed to as the single most powerful way to give your gut a total break, a complete reset.
And it's simply this: fasting. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go for days without eating. We're talking about creating a structured, intentional window of time without food designed to give your body, and especially your gut, the time it needs to finally heal itself.
The most common and approachable target is a 16-hour fast. So, for example, you might finish dinner by 7 p.m. and then not eat again until 11 a.m. the next day. It's during that 16-hour break that all the magic really happens. Your gut finally stops the constant work of digestion and shifts into a deep rest and repair mode. This process can dramatically reduce those inflammatory signals we talked about and helps to calm down your entire immune system.
And this quote just sums up the whole idea perfectly. It's a beautiful chain reaction. You give your gut a rest. Because it's resting, it stops pumping out all those inflammatory alarm signals. And when the source of the problem calms down, the targets of the problem, in this case your nose and your lungs, can finally calm down too. It's a direct cause and effect.
So we'll end with this question for you to think about. After everything we've looked at today, from that gut-lung superhighway to the power of simply giving your digestion a rest, it's a pretty powerful idea. Instead of focusing only on your lungs, maybe the real path to breathing freely and finally breaking that cycle of symptoms actually begins somewhere you never expected. Maybe it all starts with healing your gut.